That's it. Let's start with some great news coming from Washington, D.C. Kristen Clarke has been confirmed as the first black woman to lead the Civil Rights Department in the Department of Justice. The Senate on yesterday voted to confirm Kristen Clarke to lead the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, making her the first black woman and the first woman of color to be confirmed by the Senate to do so. Ms. Clarke was confirmed by a vote of 51 to 48, largely along party lines. Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine was the only member of her party to vote in favor of Clarke's confirmation. Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, the only black Republican senator, voted against Kristen Clarke. Now, Clarke is the daughter of Jamaican immigrants. She grew up in a Brooklyn housing project and earned degrees from Harvard and Columbia Law School. Here is Clarke being sworn in by Vice President Kamala Harris.
I, Kristen Clarke,
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
the
Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and
to
allegiance
the same,
to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
and
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter. So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Madam Speaker.
Now, for much of Clarke's career, she has been a leading advocate for voting rights protections, and many expect Clarke to lead the charge on protecting voters from the many attacks on voting rights that is being headed up by the Republican Party across the country. Clarke made it clear during her confirmation hearings that she would use all of the tools at her disposal, including the Voting Rights Act, the National Voter Registration Act, and Uniformed and Overseas Absentee Citizens Voting Act, to ensure that eligible Americans continue to have the right to vote. And I'm sure this is why there was only one Republican, Susan Collins, who was willing to vote for her, because it is the goal of the Republican Party to suppress as many votes as possible. This is clearly seen across the country with all the legislation that they have been signing into law. When asked what America can expect from Ms. Clarke, Dr. Laura McNeil, chief legal correspondent for the Black News Channel, said the following.
Expect her to do what we've seen Merrick Garland doing, which is taking a more hands-on approach in ensuring equality in all aspects, not just housing, but we've seen Merrick Garland as the head of the Department of Justice also leading the fight towards police misconduct in communities of color. So we can expect her to increase the number of investigations into pattern and practice things that are going on in police departments, meaning that have a pattern and practice of racially harmful policies and practices, racially discriminatory policies and practices. We can expect her also to try to create more accountability for LGBTQ discrimination as well. So she will take a much different approach, Laverne, than what we saw in the previous administration, which they took a very laissez-faire kind of laid-back approach to enforcing civil rights here in America.
So this appointment is critical. We've already seen an about face in the manner in which Joe Biden's Justice Department, under the leadership of Merrick Garland, has approached investigations into the killing of black men by the police across this country, as compared to Donald Trump's Department of Justice, which literally turned a blind eye. The work of the Civil Rights Division will also intersect with the Biden administration's efforts to confront the very serious threat of domestic terrorism, which many officials have cited is being caused by white supremacist organizations. Despite all of these reasons, many of us are celebrating the confirmation of Clarke. It is perhaps because of these exact reasons that the focus on voting rights, the focus on civil rights, and the fight against white supremacy, this is perhaps the reason the Republican Party could not vote for her except for Susan Collins. And this includes Tim Scott, the black darling and the superstar of the Republican Party. He couldn't even take the route of Louisiana Republican John Kennedy, who, instead of voting against Clarke, decided to abstain from voting altogether. Of course, Tim Scott doesn't want someone like Clarke working to push back against white supremacy and racism in this country because he doesn't even believe that there is racism in this country.
Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor. Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country.
So as you can see, Tim Scott has every incentive or had every incentive to vote against Kristen Clarke, but this is still a day of celebration, 51-48. She is now leading the Civil Rights Department, and this matters in a very significant fashion because that is the department that is going to lead up the charge on protecting our voting rights. That is the department that is going to lead up the charge protecting our civil rights. And again, that is the department that is going to lead the fight against domestic terrorism that comes specifically in the form of white supremacy. This is great news. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Rebecca Zor is going to join us to enhance the conversation. And we have a lot more news and politics to cover, more like it or not, right after this.